I'm Natasha, your host for today. If you are new here, I'd like to let you know that we upload a new English learning video every single day to help you improve your English faster. In today's episode, you're not only going to strengthen your English listening skills, but you'll also sharpen your speaking and thinking skills to a more advanced level. In today's masterclass, we are diving deep into the strategies, expressions, and speaking habits that will help you sound confident, natural, and truly advanced when you speak English. We will explore real-life conversation examples, advanced vocabulary in context, and practice drills that will challenge you to think and respond like a fluent speaker. By the end of this lesson, you will have a clear set of tools you can use in your daily life to express yourself with ease, elegance, and accuracy. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss any of our helpful English learning episodes. Now, grab a pen, get comfortable, and let's begin our advanced English fluency journey together. When we talk about advanced English, many learners imagine complicated words or very formal grammar. But true advanced English isn't just about throwing in difficult vocabulary. It's about the smoothness, accuracy, and appropriateness of your speech. It's about the way you choose your words, depending on the situation, the tone you use, and the speed at which you think and respond. For example, in a casual conversation with friends, you might say, "I'm a bit tired today." But in a professional setting, you might say, "I'm feeling slightly fatigued after a long day of meetings." The meaning is similar, but the word choice changes the tone, making it fit the situation. Let's try a quick practice together. I'll give you a simple sentence, and you'll repeat it with a slightly more advanced twist. Here's the simple version. I don't like this idea. Now here's the advanced version. I'm not entirely convinced this is the best approach. Notice how the second sentence sounds softer, more polite, and more formal, but still clear. Repeat after me. I'm not entirely convinced this is the best approach. Good. Let's try another, simple version. I don't know. Advanced version. I'm not certain at the moment. Repeat after me. I'm not certain at the moment. This is the kind of shift we will practice again and again in this lesson. Advanced English also requires you to think beyond the meaning of your words and focus on the flow of your sentences. Native speakers often link ideas together with connectors, transitions, and little conversational phrases that make speech sound natural. For example, instead of just answering with yes or no, you might say, "Yes, I see what you mean, but let me explain my perspective." This doesn't just answer the question, it also keeps the conversation alive and engaging. Let's do a short conversational shadowing exercise. Imagine someone says to you, "I think we should cancel the meeting." A basic reply could be, "No, let's not cancel it." But here's the advanced reply. "I understand your point, but perhaps we could reschedule instead of canceling altogether." Now, say it with me slowly. I understand your point, but perhaps we could reschedule instead of canceling altogether. Try to match my tone and rhythm. Another important skill for advanced English is the ability to paraphrase. Paraphrasing means expressing the same idea in a different way. This is very useful when you don't know a specific word or when you want to sound more fluent by avoiding repetition. Let's practice. I'll give you a sentence, and I want you to say it in a different way. Sentence. She was very happy about the news. One advanced version could be, she was absolutely delighted when she heard the news. Another could be, the news filled her with joy. Now you try. Paraphrasing is also important when you're in a conversation and you want to show that you understood the other person. For example, if someone says, I don't think we have enough time to finish this project, you could reply, so you're saying we might miss the deadline? This skill helps you confirm meaning and keep the conversation flowing smoothly. Let's work on a vocabulary upgrade drill. I'll give you a common word and you'll replace it with a more advanced alternative. The key is not to sound unnatural. Advanced words should fit the context. Ready? Common word. Big. Advanced options. Enormous. Substantial. Considerable. Common word. Small. Advanced options. Tiny. Minute. Insignificant. Common word. Help. Advanced options. Assist. Support. Aid. I'll say the simple sentence. Then you say it back with the advanced word. Can you help me with this? Becomes, could you assist me with this? Your turn. When practicing advanced English, you also need to focus on tone and politeness strategies. In English, how you say something can be just as important as what you say. For example, close the window is clear, but can sound a bit direct. An advanced speaker might say, would you mind closing the window? This makes the request softer and more polite. Here's a quick role-play exercise. Imagine you are in a meeting and you need to disagree with someone's idea. Instead of saying, you're wrong, you could say, I see where you're coming from, but I have a different perspective. Or, that's an interesting point, but perhaps we could consider another approach. Try saying each of these with me. Focus on keeping your tone respectful. Finally, for this section, remember that advanced English is not about rushing your speech. It's about speaking with clarity, confidence, and precision. Many learners think speaking fast makes them sound advanced, but in reality, it can make you harder to understand. Native speakers pause, emphasize important words, and use rhythm to make their message clear. In this lesson, we will practice speaking at a natural pace, with just the right amount of pauses. One of the best ways to move toward advanced English fluency is to practice thinking in English, without translating from your native language. This is because translation slows you down, and advanced speakers are able to respond quickly in conversations. To train your brain for this, you can start by describing things around you in English as you see them. For example, if you're walking to work and you see a busy street, you can think, the street is crowded with people rushing to their destinations. If you see a child eating ice cream, you might think, that little boy looks delighted as he takes each bite of his ice cream cone. The more you do this, the easier it becomes to form advanced sentences naturally. Let's try this together. I'll give you a basic thought in simple English, and I want you to upgrade it to something more descriptive and advanced. Basic. It's a nice day. Advanced. It's a pleasantly warm day with a soft breeze moving through the trees. Another. Basic. She is tired. Advanced. She looks completely drained after such a long day at work. No. Repeat the advanced versions after me, matching the rhythm of my speech. Another essential skill for advanced English is mastering idiomatic expressions. Idioms are phrases whose meanings can't be understood just by looking at the words. You need to know the expression as a whole. For example, break the ice doesn't mean breaking actual ice. It means starting a conversation to make people feel more comfortable. Let's practice using idioms in sentences. Repeat after me. I told a joke to break the ice at the start of the meeting. We need something to sweeten the deal before the client agrees. After weeks of hard work, they finally hit the nail on the head with their proposal. These idioms make your English sound more colorful and authentic. Now, let's put idioms into a role play. Imagine you are talking to a friend about starting a new project. Friend. I'm nervous about meeting the new team. You. Don't worry, I'll help break the ice. Friend. I don't think they'll accept our first offer. You. Maybe we can sweeten the deal with a small discount. This kind of practice helps you recall idioms more easily when you actually need them in real life. Advanced English also involves being able to shift your formality, depending on the setting. In casual conversations, contractions like I'm and don't are natural. But in formal writing or speeches, you might use I am or do not for clarity and emphasis. Let's practice both styles. Informal. I'm happy to help. Formal. I am pleased to assist you. Informal. We don't have enough time. Formal. We do not have sufficient time. Try repeating each version after me, noticing the change in tone. You should also pay attention to collocations, words that often go together naturally. For example, we say, make a decision and not do a decision. We say heavy rain, not strong rain. Learning collocations helps you speak more like a native speaker. Let's practice upgrading some sentences with natural collocations. Basic. She gave a speech. Advanced. She delivered a powerful speech. Basic. I'm very hungry. Advanced. I'm absolutely starving. Basic. The company made changes. Advanced. The company implemented significant changes. Repeat each one after me. Another way to push your English to an advanced level is to learn softeners and hedging language. These are words and phrases that make your statements less direct, which is important in English for politeness and diplomacy. For example, instead of saying, "This is wrong," you could say, "I'm not sure this is entirely correct." Instead of saying, "You should do this," you could say, "Perhaps you might consider doing this." These small changes make your English sound more sophisticated and respectful. Let's practice. I'll give you a direct sentence, and you'll soften it. Direct. I can't help you with that. Softened. I'm afraid I won't be able to assist you with that. Direct. You are late. Softened. It seems you've arrived a little later than expected. Try repeating the softened versions after me. Shadowing is another powerful tool for advanced fluency. In this exercise, you listen and repeat immediately, copying the exact pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. We'll try a short paragraph now. Repeat each phrase right after I say it. Over the past few years, I've noticed how small adjustments in the way I speak can make a big difference in how I'm understood. By choosing the right words and pausing at the right moments, I can make my message clearer and more persuasive. This is the kind of skill we are developing in this masterclass. Excellent. You should also work on upgrading your adjectives and adverbs. Instead of very good, you could say excellent or outstanding instead of very bad. You could say terrible or dreadful instead of very fast. You could say rapidly or swiftly. Let's make a game out of it. I'll say a sentence with very, and you'll replace it with a stronger word. The view is very beautiful. Your upgrade might be, the view is breathtaking. He runs very fast. Your upgrade. He runs incredibly swiftly. Finally, remember that advanced fluency is not only about speaking, it's about listening deeply so you can respond naturally. Practice listening to podcasts, interviews, and films in English, paying attention to how speakers use pauses, emphasis, and subtle vocabulary. When you notice a phrase you like, write it down and practice saying it until it becomes natural for you. One of the strongest markers of advanced English is your ability to use nuance, that subtle layer of meaning that changes how your words are received. Nuance is what allows a native speaker to choose, "I'd rather not," instead of "I don't want to," or "I see your point," instead of "You're right." These small differences carry emotional weight, and they can make you sound more diplomatic, professional, or warm, depending on your intention. Let's practice this. I'll give you a direct sentence, and you'll rephrase it with more nuance. Stop talking. Advanced. Could we continue this conversation a little later? I don't like this. Advanced. It's not quite to my taste. Repeat each of these slowly after me, paying attention to how they feel softer or more tactful. Advanced fluency also involves the art of extending conversations naturally. Many learners stop after giving short answers, which can make a conversation feel flat. Instead, you can give an answer and then add a follow-up comment or question. For example, if someone asks, "How was your weekend?" Instead of just saying, "It was good," you could say, "It was good. I went hiking with some friends, and the weather was perfect. How about yours?" This keeps the dialogue alive and makes you sound more engaging. Let's try a few. I'll ask a question. You give a short answer, and then add something extra. Question: Have you seen that new movie? Short answer: Yes, I have. Extended answer: Yes, I have. The storyline was gripping, and the acting was brilliant. Have you watched it yet? Another essential part of speaking advanced English is storytelling. When you tell a story well, you connect with your listener and keep them engaged. A good story in English usually has a clear beginning, a sequence of events, and a satisfying ending. Let's do a quick storytelling practice. I'll start a short story, and you can repeat it after me. Last Saturday, I decided to explore a small cafe I had never been to before. As soon as I stepped inside, the smell of freshly baked bread filled the air. I ordered a cappuccino, and the barista smiled warmly as she handed it to me. It turned out to be one of the best cups of coffee I've ever had. Now, you try telling that same story in your own words, keeping the flow and detail. To move toward advanced fluency, you should also focus on using connectors to link your ideas smoothly. Words like, however, therefore, on the other hand, as a result, and meanwhile, make your speech flow more logically. Let's take a simple example. Basic. I studied hard. I passed the exam. Advanced. I studied hard, and as a result, I passed the exam. Another. Basic. I wanted to go for a walk. It started raining. Advanced. I wanted to go for a walk. However, it started raining. Repeat these after me, focusing on the rhythm created by the connectors. Another strategy to sound advanced is to avoid filler words like and you know. While it's natural to pause, replacing filler sounds with short pauses or transitional phrases makes you sound more confident. Instead of you can pause for a breath. Instead of you know, you can say, let's see. What I mean is, or, well, in moderation. Try this with me. Basic. I think we should, wait until tomorrow. Advanced. I think we should wait until tomorrow. Notice how removing the fillers makes the sentence stronger. Let's also work on active vocabulary expansion. Advanced speakers don't just know more words, they know when and how to use them. For example, instead of saying get better, you could say improve, progress, or enhance, depending on the context. Instead of saying fix, you might use repair, restore, or resolve. Let's do a quick drill. I'll say a common sentence, and you'll upgrade the verb. We need to fix this problem. Advanced. We need to resolve this issue. I want to get better at cooking. Advanced. I want to improve my cooking skills. She's making her English better every day. Advanced. She's enhancing her English skills day by day. Repeat each one after me. Another important skill is learning how to politely interrupt, something often needed in meetings, group discussions, or social gatherings. A direct, wait, I want to say something, can sound rude. An advanced speaker might say, sorry to interrupt, but may I add something here? Or, if I could just jump in for a moment, I think, let's practice. Repeat after me. Sorry to interrupt, but may I share a quick thought? If I could just jump in for a second, I'd like to mention. These phrases help you participate actively, without sounding impolite. Now, let's practice summarizing, another advanced communication skill. If a friend tells you a long story, you can show understanding and keep the conversation moving by summarizing their main points. For example, if they talk for 2 minutes about how stressful their workday was, you might say, so it sounds like your schedule has been overwhelming lately. This shows that you listened carefully and understood their meaning. Let's try. I'll give you a short paragraph, and you'll summarize it. I've been working late all week, trying to finish a big project. My boss keeps adding new tasks, and I haven't had much sleep. Summary. So you've been overloaded with work, and getting enough rest. Your turn, finally. As you practice these skills, remember that advanced fluency is not something you achieve overnight. It's the result of consistent practice, careful listening, and a willingness to experiment with language. Every time you speak, you have an opportunity to refine your pronunciation, expand your vocabulary, and improve your confidence. Think of it like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. One of the most powerful ways to build advanced English fluency is to master the art of emphasis. Emphasis in English isn't just about raising your voice. It's about deciding which words deserve more weight, so your listener understands your point clearly. For example, in the sentence, "I didn't say she stole the money," the meaning changes depending on which word you emphasize. Try this with me. Emphasize I. I didn't say she stole the money, meaning someone else said it. Emphasize didn't. I didn't say she stole the money, meaning you are denying it. This small change in stress can completely change the message. Let's practice a few more. Advanced English also means using descriptive language to paint a picture for your listener. Instead of saying, "I had dinner," you might say, "I enjoyed a comforting bowl of pasta topped with fresh basil and melted cheese." Instead of, "It was raining," you could say, "The rain poured down in silver sheets, tapping softly against the window." Let's try this as a practice. I'll give you a basic sentence, and you'll transform it into a more vivid version. Basic. I went for a walk. Advanced. I strolled through the quiet streets, breathing in the cool evening air. Basic. She laughed. Advanced. She burst into a warm, genuine laugh that lit up her face. Another essential aspect of advanced speaking is mastering your intonation, the rise and fall of your voice. Intonation adds emotion and clarity to your words. For example, when you ask a yes or no question, your voice usually rises at the end. "Are you coming?" But when you make a statement, your voice falls slightly. "I'm coming." Now let's practice intonation in conversation. Repeat after me. Would you like to join us for dinner? I'd love to join you for dinner. Notice how the rise and fall of your tone changes the feel of the sentence. Let's also work on giving detailed answers. If someone asks, "How are you?" the most common reply is, "I'm fine." But an advanced speaker might add more information to keep the conversation alive. For example, "I'm doing well, thanks. I've been working on a new project at work, and it's been challenging but exciting." Try responding to my questions with more than just one sentence. Question: What did you do last weekend? You could say, "I spent Saturday visiting a local art exhibition, and on Sunday, I met a few friends for brunch by the river." A very important part of advanced English is conversational balance. This means not dominating the conversation and also not disappearing from it. Advanced speakers ask follow-up questions to show interest. If someone says, "I went to Paris last month," you could respond, "That sounds amazing. What was your favorite part of the trip?" This keeps the flow going and makes your partner feel heard. Let's practice. I'll give you a statement, and you ask me a follow-up question. Statement: I've started learning how to play the guitar. Your follow-up could be, that's great. What kind of songs are you learning? We should also practice clarity in pronunciation without over-exaggerating. Advanced English isn't about sounding robotic or overly precise. It's about finding a clear, natural rhythm. Try shadowing these sentences with me, slowly, then a little faster. Clarity comes from practice, not from rushing. Every word I speak carries my meaning to the listener. Pausing gives my words space to be understood. Another great skill for advanced fluency is reformulating questions. This is when you repeat a question in your own words before answering. For example, if someone asks, "How do you deal with stress?" You might start by saying, "How do I deal with stress? Well, I usually take long walks and listen to calming music." This technique gives you a moment to think and makes your answer feel more polished. Let's try. Question: what's your favorite way to spend a holiday? You might begin, "My favorite way to spend a holiday? I love exploring new cities and tasting local food." Advanced English also benefits from metaphor and analogy. These comparisons make your speech more memorable. For example, instead of saying, "Learning English is difficult," you might say, "Learning English is like planting a garden. It takes patience, care, and time to see it grow." Let's create a few together. I'll give you a topic, and you make a metaphor. Topic: improving your speaking skills. You might say, "Improving your speaking skills is like training for a marathon. You build up strength over time." Finally, remember that confidence is part of fluency. You can have excellent vocabulary and grammar, but if you speak too quietly or hesitantly, your message loses impact. Confidence comes from practice and from accepting that making mistakes is part of learning. Every advanced speaker was once a beginner who made mistakes. The difference is they kept going. So as we move forward in this masterclass, speak boldly, repeat often, and enjoy the process of refining your English. One of the most effective ways to sound advanced in English is to use what I call precision phrases, short expressions that communicate your meaning clearly, without extra words. These are not just vocabulary upgrades, but small sentence patterns that make you sound sharp and confident. For example, instead of saying, "I need more time to think about this," you could say, "Let me reflect on this for a moment." Instead of, "That's not true," you could say, "I'm afraid that's not entirely accurate." These kinds of phrases give you more control over tone and create a professional impression. Let's try this together. I'll say the basic version, and you repeat the advanced version after me. "I don't know" becomes, "I'm not entirely certain." "I don't agree" becomes, "I see it differently." Advanced English also involves developing your ability to give detailed explanations, not just short replies. For example, if someone asks you, "Why do you enjoy reading?" a basic answer could be, "It's relaxing." But an advanced answer might be, "It's relaxing, and it also allows me to learn new perspectives, escape into different worlds, and improve my vocabulary at the same time." Adding 2 or 3 supporting details makes your answer sound richer and more engaging. Let's practice. I'll give you a question, and you'll answer with more than one reason. Question: why do you like living in your city? You could say, I enjoy living here because it's safe, the community is friendly, and there are plenty of parks and cultural activities. Another important skill is handling misunderstandings politely. In conversations, sometimes people mishear or misinterpret you. Instead of bluntly saying, "That's not what I said," you can say, "Let me clarify what I meant," or, "I think there might have been a misunderstanding. What I was trying to say is..." This not only corrects the misunderstanding, but also keeps the conversation comfortable. Try repeating these after me, focusing on a calm tone. Let me clarify what I meant. I think there might have been a misunderstanding. What I was trying to say is... We should also talk about discourse markers, small words and phrases that help structure your speech. Words like well, actually, frankly, in fact, to be honest, and on the whole signal your attitude or introduce a new point. For example, well, I think you'd try a different approach sounds softer than jumping straight to we could try a different approach. Let's do a drill. I'll give you a sentence, and you add a discourse marker at the start. Sentence: I believe we should start early. Advanced: well, I believe we should start early. Sentence: I like this idea. Advanced: actually, I really like this idea. Another hallmark of advanced English is your ability to use a variety of sentence structures. This means mixing short sentences for impact with longer ones for detail. For example, you might say, the meeting went well. Then follow it with, we discussed several important updates, including the new project launch, budget adjustments, and team assignments. The short sentence at the start grabs attention, and the longer sentence gives the detail. Let's practice. I'll give you a basic answer, and you'll expand it with a second, longer sentence. Basic: the trip was fun. Expanded: the trip was fun. We visited 3 different cities, tried local dishes, and met some incredible people. You should also practice changing your register, moving between formal and informal speech, because advanced speakers adjust naturally to the situation. Let's try informal: I'm going to grab a coffee. Formal: I'm going to get a coffee. Informal: can you help me out? Formal: would you be able to assist me? Repeat both versions after me, noticing the difference in tone and formality. Another useful practice is active listening, showing the speaker that you are paying attention through small verbal signals. In English, this could be words like right, I see, exactly, that's true, or short follow-up questions. These signals keep the conversation alive. For example, if someone says, I've been feeling stressed lately, you might respond, I see. Is it because of work? Let's practice this. I'll give you a statement, and you respond with an active listening phrase plus a follow-up question. Statement: I've been learning Spanish for 2 years. You: that's great. What made you decide to start learning? Finally, remember that using advanced English is not about sounding artificial. It's about sounding natural, but precise. The goal is for your language to feel effortless, not forced. That's why you should practice in realistic scenarios, at work, in social conversations, when asking for information, and even when telling stories. The more you use advanced patterns in real life, the more they will become part of your natural speech. And every time, you choose a more precise phrase, add a little more detail, or link your ideas smoothly, you are taking another step toward true fluency. One of the keys to sounding advanced in English is developing the skill of framing your ideas before you deliver them. Framing means giving a little introduction to what you're about to say, so your listener can follow your thinking. For example, instead of jumping straight to, "We need to change the plan," you could say, "Considering the recent updates, I think we might need to change the plan." This softens your message and makes it sound more thoughtful. Let's practice. Basic. This is a good idea. Framed. From my perspective, this seems like a good idea. Basic. We can't finish today. Framed. Given the time we have left, we probably can't finish today. Repeat each of these after me. Advanced English also makes use of speculation language, phrases you can use when you are not 100% certain, but still want to share your thoughts. Phrases like, "It seems that," "I would imagine," "There's a chance that," and "It's likely that," allow you to contribute ideas without sounding too absolute. For example, "It seems that the weather might improve by the weekend." Sounds more balanced than, "The weather will improve. Let's try this." Basic. They will be late. Advanced. It's likely they'll be late. Basic. She's not interested. Advanced. It seems she's not particularly interested. Another powerful skill is adding emotional color to your language. Emotional color means choosing words that reflect not just the facts, but also the feelings involved. For example, he spoke about the project is factual, but he spoke passionately about the project. Tells us more about his feelings. Similarly, she answered becomes she answered reluctantly. If you want to show hesitation, let's practice. Plain. They accepted the offer. Colored. They eagerly accepted the offer. Plain. He walked into the room. Colored. He walked confidently into the room. We should also work on contrast structures. Sentences that show two sides of an idea. Advanced speakers often use these to make their points richer. For example, "I enjoy living in the city, although sometimes I miss the quiet of the countryside." Or, "This option is cheaper, but it might not be as reliable. Let's try." Idea. "I like my job." Contrast. "I like my job, but it can be stressful at times." Idea. "The weather is nice." Contrast. "The weather is nice, although it's a bit windy." Another essential advanced speaking skill is forward planning in conversation. This means hinting at what you'll talk about next to keep your listener engaged. For example, I'd like to start by talking about the main challenges we faced, and then I'll share some solutions. Or, first, I'll explain the background, and then we can look at the details. This technique works well in both professional and casual situations. Let's practice. Basic. Let's talk about the trip. Planned. First, I'll tell you how we planned the trip, then I'll share what happened when we arrived. We should also focus on using relative clauses to make our sentences more advanced and detailed. Instead of saying, "The man is my neighbor. He is wearing a blue shirt," you could say, "The man who is wearing a blue shirt is my neighbor." Let's try a few. Basic. The book is interesting. It's on the table. Advanced. The book that's on the table is interesting. Basic. The woman is a doctor. She lives next door. Advanced. The woman who lives next door is a doctor. Another sign of advanced fluency is the ability to handle interruptions gracefully. If you are speaking and someone interrupts, you can pause politely and then continue. Phrases like, "As I was saying," "If I could just finish my point," or "Let me return to what I was explaining," help you get back on track. Let's practice. Repeat after me. As I was saying, we still need more information. If I could just finish my point, the idea is to launch next month. We also need to practice echoing, repeating part of what someone has said to show interest or to confirm meaning. For example, if someone says, "I'm moving to another country," you might reply, "You're moving? That's exciting." This makes the conversation more engaging. Let's try. Statement. I just got promoted. Echo. You got promoted? Congratulations. Statement. I'm learning how to cook. Echo. You're learning to cook? That's great. Finally, in this part, I want to remind you that advanced English is about awareness. Awareness of tone, of vocabulary choices, of the rhythm of your speech, and of how you make the other person feel. Every interaction is an opportunity to refine these skills. The more you practice in realistic settings with colleagues, friends, or even by yourself, the more these patterns will become second nature. Another important element of advanced English fluency is mastering cause and effect language. This means linking ideas together, so your listener understands not only what happened, but why it happened. Instead of simply saying, "I missed the train," you could say, "I missed the train because the meeting ran over time," or, "Due to heavy traffic, I ended up arriving late." These small connectors, because, as a result, therefore, due to, make your speech more complete and logical. Let's try some together. Basic. I couldn't go to the party. Advanced. I couldn't go to the party because I was feeling unwell. Basic. We sold more products. Advanced. We sold more products as a result of the new marketing strategy. We should also work on persuasive language, words and phrases that help you influence someone's opinion in a respectful way. For example, I strongly believe. It's worth considering. Or, one possible solution could be. These expressions make your suggestions sound confident and thoughtful, rather than forceful. Let's practice. Basic. You should try this. Advanced. It's worth trying this approach. Basic. We must start now. Advanced. I strongly believe we should get started now. Repeat each of these after me, focusing on your tone. Another skill advanced speakers have is the ability to reframe a negative into something more positive or constructive. For example, instead of saying, "This problem is too big," you could say, "This is a challenging problem, but it's an opportunity to find a creative solution." Instead of, "I'm not good at this," you could say, "I'm still learning, and I'm getting better each time." Let's try this together. I'll give you the negative version, and you turn it into the reframed version. Negative. We don't have enough time. Reframed. We have limited time, so let's focus on the most important parts. Negative. I made a mistake. Reframed. I learned something valuable from that mistake. We should also talk about emphasis structures, special sentence patterns that highlight a key idea. For example, what I really need is more practice. Or, the thing that matters most is communication. These structures make your main point stand out in the listener's mind. Let's practice. Basic. I need more time. Emphasis. What I really need is more time. Basic. I like this part best. Emphasis. The part I like best is this one. Another powerful tool is linking backwards in a conversation. This is when you connect your next point to something your partner just said. For example, if someone says, "I had trouble finding the place," you might start your response with, "Speaking of finding places, I once got lost in the middle of a big city." This technique creates a natural flow between speakers. Let's try. Statement. I love trying new foods. Linked reply. Speaking of new foods, I recently tasted a dish I'd never heard of before. Advanced English also benefits from conditional sentences, the if sentences, that let you talk about possibilities. These can make your speech more flexible and detailed. For example, if I had more free time, I would learn another language. Or, if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. Let's practice. Basic. I'll call you tomorrow. Conditional. If I have time tomorrow, I'll give you a call. Basic. We will be late. Conditional. If we don't leave now, we'll be late. You should also develop your summary skills for wrapping up your thoughts clearly. This is especially important in meetings, presentations, or when telling a long story. You can use phrases like, "So, in short," "to sum up," or "in conclusion," to signal that you're finishing your point. Let's practice. I'll give you a long answer, and then we'll summarize it. Long. We've been working hard all week, testing the new system, fixing errors, and training the team on the updates. Summary. So, in short, we've made a lot of progress this week. Finally, in this section, remember that advanced English fluency is about building layer upon layer of skill. You won't master every technique instantly, but the more you use these strategies, cause and effect, persuasion, reframing, emphasis, linking, conditionals, and summarizing, the more natural they will become. Your goal isn't to memorize perfect sentences, but to have so many patterns in your mind that they come out effortlessly in real conversations. Another sign of truly advanced English is the ability to add qualifiers to your statements. Qualifiers are words or phrases that make your language more precise and realistic. They include expressions like generally speaking, to some extent, in most cases, or for the most part. Instead of saying, this method works, you could say, this method generally works in most situations. Instead of, she's right, you could say, she's mostly right, although there are a few exceptions. Let's practice. Basic. I agree with you. Qualified. I mostly agree with you, though I see a slightly different angle. Basic. It's easy. Qualified. It's relatively easy once you understand the basics. Advanced English also requires strong agreement and disagreement skills. Instead of just saying, I agree, or I disagree, you can use richer expressions that make your response more engaging. For agreement, you might say, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly how I see it. Or, we're on the same page. For polite disagreement, you could say, I see your point, but I have a different view. Or, that's an interesting perspective, although I'm not entirely convinced. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly how I see it. I see your point, but I have a different view. Another advanced technique is signposting in conversation. This is when you guide your listener through your ideas by using words and phrases that show where you are in your explanation. Examples include, first of all, moving on to, that brings me to, and finally. This makes your speech more organized and easier to follow, especially in longer answers. Let's try. Question. Can you tell me about your trip? Signposted answer. First of all, we visited the capital city, which was full of beautiful architecture. Then, we explored some smaller towns, and finally, we spent a few days relaxing on the beach. We should also practice time expressions that sound natural and advanced. Instead of saying, in the future, you could say, down the line, or further ahead. Instead of right now, you might say, at the moment, or as of now. These small upgrades make your English sound more flexible and natural. Let's practice. Basic. I can't help you right now. Advanced. I can't help you at the moment. Basic. We'll see in the future. Advanced. We'll see how things develop down the line. Another skill advanced speakers use is clarifying and checking understanding. If you're not sure you understood someone, you can say, just to clarify, you mean? Or, if I understand you correctly, you're saying? This not only helps you avoid mistakes, but also shows respect. For the speaker's message, let's practice. I'll give you a statement, and you check for understanding. Statement. I think we should move the meeting to Friday. Clarification. Just to clarify, you mean we'll reschedule it for this Friday? We should also cover parallel structures, repeating a certain grammar pattern to make your sentence more balanced and clear. For example, I enjoy reading books, watching movies, and traveling to new places. Notice how each item has the same form. Let's try basic. He likes to swim, running, and to hike. Advanced. He likes swimming, running, and hiking. Basic. She's smart, works hard, and friendly. Advanced. She's smart, hard-working, and friendly. Another sign of an advanced speaker is the ability to express uncertainty in a way that still sounds confident. For example, I'm not entirely sure, but I think, or it's hard to say for certain, yet it seems. These allow you to share your view without committing too strongly. Let's practice. Basic. I don't know if this is right. Advanced. I'm not entirely sure, but this seems right. Basic. Maybe it will work. Advanced. It could work, though we'd need to est it. Finally, in this section, I want you to remember that advanced English is as much about connection as it is about correctness. A perfectly correct sentence that feels cold or disconnected won't build rapport, but a slightly imperfect sentence, delivered warmly and naturally, can still sound advanced because it serves the purpose of communication. That's why, in this masterclass, we're not just polishing grammar, we're shaping the way you interact, think, and respond in English, so it becomes part of your natural identity. One of the hallmarks of advanced English communication is the ability to adapt your style depending on the listener. This skill, called audience awareness, means adjusting your vocabulary, tone, and level of detail based on who you're speaking to. For example, explaining a medical topic to a doctor would sound different from explaining it to a child. Let's practice. Topic: the flu. For a child, it's when you get sick with a fever and feel tired. For a doctor, it's an influenza infection that causes fever, fatigue, and respiratory symptoms. Being able to shift like this makes your English versatile and professional. Another important technique is preempting questions. This means answering possible doubts before they're even asked. For example, this plan will save us money, and in case you're wondering about the timeline, it will take about 3 months to complete. This shows preparation and confidence. Let's practice. Basic. I'm going on a trip. Preempted. I'm going on a trip next month. And yes, I've already arranged for someone to cover my work while I'm away. We should also focus on softening disagreements even further by using language that values the other person's view. Phrases like, I can see why you think that. That's a valid point. Or, I understand your reasoning, before giving your own perspective can make a big difference. Let's try. Basic, I disagree. Advanced, I see your point, but I have another perspective. Basic, that's not correct. Advanced, that's an interesting point, although my understanding is slightly different. Advanced English speakers also use anticipation language, expressions that prepare the listener for what's coming. For example, you might be surprised to hear this, but, or, what I'm about to say may sound unusual, yet, this keeps the listener's attention and adds a touch of drama to your words. Let's practice. Basic, it's hard to believe. Advanced, you might find this hard to believe, but. Basic, this is important. Advanced, what I'm about to tell you is really important. Another skill that helps you sound advanced is using precision adverbs instead of generic ones. Instead of really or very, you can say highly, particularly, especially, remarkably, or extremely, depending on the meaning. Let's practice. Basic, she's very talented. Advanced, she's exceptionally talented. Basic, it's really important. Advanced, it's absolutely essential. We should also practice expanding on feedback. In basic English, feedback is often short, good job or well done. In advanced English, feedback can include why it's good and how it can be improved. For example, that's a strong opening to your presentation. The statistics were clear. You could make it even better by adding a short story to illustrate the point. Let's try. Basic, nice work. Expanded, nice work on that report. It's concise and well-structured. You might make it even stronger by adding a few examples. Another sign of advanced fluency is being able to change the subject smoothly when necessary. You can do this with phrases like, speaking of, that reminds me, or while we're on the topic. This keeps the conversation natural and flowing. Let's practice. Basic, let's talk about something else. Advanced, speaking of plans, have you decided where? Varying your tone, rising when you're asking a question, lowering for serious points, and adding warmth for personal stories makes your English more engaging. Try this with me. Say, I couldn't believe it, and then it actually happened, with an excited tone. Now, it's important that we take this seriously, with a lower, steady tone. Another technique advanced speakers use is mirroring vocabulary. This means using some of the same words the other person uses to create connection. If someone says, I've been swamped at work, you might reply, I know what you mean. I've been swamped too this week. This shows you're listening closely and builds rapport. Let's practice. Statement, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Mirrored reply, I completely understand. I've been feeling overwhelmed lately as well. Finally, remember that the goal of all these skills, framing, paraphrasing, idioms, connectors, precision vocabulary, active listening, tone control, and more, is not to impress people with perfect English. It's to express yourself clearly, connect deeply, and feel confident in any situation. Advanced fluency isn't about complexity. for its own sake. It's about flexibility, natural flow, and the ability to respond appropriately, no matter what conversation you're in. So as we finish this masterclass, I encourage you to keep practicing daily. Choose one or two skills from today's lesson and use them in your next conversation. Record yourself speaking, listen back, and notice where you can add a connector, a qualifier, or a better intonation. Over time, these will stop feeling like techniques and will simply become part of the way you speak. Thank you for joining me in this advanced English fluency masterclass. You've taken a big step toward becoming the kind of speaker who not only knows the right words, but also knows how to deliver them with confidence, clarity, and charm. I look forward to speaking with you again in our next lesson. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and remember, your English journey doesn't end here. It keeps growing with every conversation you have